right, it's the Create Together podcast. We're here. We're live, but not really. Nick Brengle, Caleb Hargett. Episode 205. If you're confused on that, we're just taking, season 2 and then just numbering them and not having to force ourselves to create some sort of title that's so ridiculous. We put way too much pressure on ourselves. We don't need to do that. So, I definitely have some interesting things to talk about. Caleb, I'm going to let you take the floor first. What's going on?
Dude, I got so many new weird things. There's here, I'll lead in. I'll give you some topics and you tell me which one you want to talk about. I want to hear about.
All right. I have topics too. I can give you some too, and then you can pick.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I got the S-Mic 2S, which I talked about in a previous podcast that I couldn't get because it was back ordered forever, which is a shotgun mic for the listeners. I got it somehow. It's still on back order all over the world, I guess, but I got it. And then, so I can tell you about that journey. And then I went down this whole rabbit hole of windscreens for that freaking microphone because it's such a weird size. So that's a whole other thing that I could talk about. There's a venture, this whole journey I went through with V-mount batteries for my FX6 that I could talk about. And then, I don't know if you watched North Hollywood.
I didn't yet. Okay. No, I didn't.
Watch that. Talk a little on that.
Because I mentioned it, and then we were in Florida, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and then we didn't have time yet. So not another topic, but I'm working on some cool stuff with a gear company right now that I can't actually talk about, so I don't know why I mentioned it, but that's what I have in the works right now, which has been pretty cool because you'll be helping me out with that stuff. So we'll probably talk about that project for you listeners. Yeah, I am until the end of the month, and then next month we'll definitely talk about that some more. Nice. So
people then I also did I think for Zian's YouTube channel with Say Park.
We got to talk about that first.
James Matthews.
So obviously the video talks about making videos, right? And like how to go about that process. And for listeners, this is that video it's Zion, the gimbal company. They've got a YouTube channel, and now they have 3 hosts. And those hosts each month just make content related around filmmaking. Say Park is a DC based creator, YouTuber. That he's like one of the main hosts, one of those 3 hosts. And basically for his content this month, I'm sponsored through Zion as well. So we have, related and connected through that route, me and Say. I don't know, basically with him now being a host and stuff, it's just like a no-brainer that he's going to reach out to me and we create content together because we both understand the brand and, and the ins and outs, right? And helping him with his content for the channel, and I think this is only like month number like 2 or 3 of this. So this is very new. That's why I'm talking about it like it's like the Wild West, because it is kind of still the Wild West. Like we're both still figuring out, like Zian's still figuring out how they really want the channel, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I can't actually say that because I don't know what's going through that, but that's they're changing.
It seems like that, right? Like, and basically for this month, he wanted to do an interview with James Matthews. And it's just, for those who don't know, big YouTuber, great British filmmaker, Sony, like pro ambassador. He's made films for Sony, you see, and ad campaigns and stuff. He's awesome. Yeah, he's from the UK. So it was just an interview. Say wanted to interview James Matthews. But of course, Say he's very visual effects oriented, and he just wants to do things different, right? He's trying to, he doesn't reinvent the wheel, but he definitely shapes it differently. His wheel is not round like our traditional wheel, he basically, he made this video where it's like he's in a dream
And then he, for some reason in this dream, he's in college and there's a test that he's got to do in 10 minutes or, he's got to show up for. And he hasn't studied for it or anything. And weirdly enough, the test is on James Matthews. And so then he calls James Matthews and he's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I have this test. It's like this pop quiz and it's on you. So I have like some questions to ask. So he's prepped for the test.
Gotcha.
And so the whole time he's running through the whole video and he's trying to ask him these questions. But essentially this is how the interview gets conducted, right? So we're watching a story and listening to an interview at the same time.
Right.
It's the video. But so where I come in is I just like DP'd that with Say, because he's obviously got to be on camera and this is a lot of running. He needs somebody to man the camera and show some sort of direction and think through on how these things are going to line up. So yeah, we shot this on Say's college campus, which was cool, which is the University of Maryland.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was cool. Like we went to like the super authentic, like it was, everything to the T. He was like, yeah, well, if we do this, we have to go back to my college. I'm like, okay. So, so we went there, we shot that, no problem, which is really cool. They're actually super cool on that campus about filming. We didn't get hassled. Nobody even ever asked us what we were doing.
Probably not. It's a big campus too, so I'm assuming that.
But we were like not hiding either. We were literally like out in every courtyard, I feel like, just doing the stupidest stuff, right? Like, so yeah, that was really cool though, and that was pretty refreshing. And yeah, dodged a whole bunch of cicadas that day. Cicadas were, like there's literally like, there was like 2 or 3 different times in the day where like Say's talking on camera and the next time I see him like look up and he just like his hand goes up and he just swats a cicada.
Come
like
to my neighborhood, they're
him.
Everywhere. Yeah,
it's so funny though. But anyway, and then so I have this like cameo at the end. He tells me like the day before, like, hey, you're gonna act in this. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna make a cameo. I'm like, okay, cool. And then the day of is when I find out like this is like the ending. Like on my camera is like at the end. So like I make my brief little like ending where I'm playing like director DP kind of thing, and I like yell to the crew to like stop and stuff. It's pretty funny. So yeah, time number 2, we're now in the last like 2 years where I have somebody put me in the acting role.
Right.
Again, because you did it first
with
all of ours. I did a little bit of acting, but
definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any questions? I don't. That's like the general gist. Like, I don't have too much more to say about it per se. I guess I just went over it all, but
yeah. I guess just how did you shot it all in one day?
We shot it all in one day.
All in one day.
Originally, it was going to be like 2 hours. It definitely took us 4.
That's what I was going to assume. There's no way. Yeah, that was going to take. And mine on your end, I'm sure it was more. Say needed to really like flesh it out in the moment. But you were talking off podcast about visual effects and how you were having to compose shots for the visual effects, which I don't have, I've probably done once or twice because I just don't do that. So I know, it's different for sure because you can't see it and there's no, I'm sure on, whatever Avengers set, they probably have these screens that are, computer generating stuff so they can kind of see it. But for us, we're just having to go off of whatever's in Say's mind, I guess, for you.
It's true,
what he sees.
So that was a big difference, right? Like, shooting. I had to think so much differently as far as the DP and creating frames because I had to frame things around at that point that are invisible, right? So to me, the framing doesn't look right.
Right.
But with, the Say's visual and it's like knowing the graphic that's going to come up, now it's okay. So like that was super different because we're also doing all this motion. This is, again, like the whole video is basically in motion just about. So these graphics, it's just weird. Like, when you're tracking somebody, you usually know like where you want them in the frame.
Right.
But for this, I'm also having to keep space for the graphic. And where they're in frame is probably not right, but once you put the graphic in, it's right.
Right.
And that was so weird because this is the first time I've done that, right? Like,
and you just shot. You weren't editing this.
No.
Gotcha.
So
You got to shoot and then push it off and
Yeah.
then see the final product. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
did Say shoot you saying that line?
Oh no! So that line, that's what's funny. So that we actually have a tripod with his like A7S III set up behind me, and we
So
just
you
like pull
just-
focus. And we shoot a scene like before that where I'm like running up to that spot, and then essentially the whole idea is that like the way we shot it is we have the camera behind me, Say's camera on the tripod, and then I'm just standing still. So we just pulled focus on me so that. And the whole idea is that James says something is like, yeah, man, like if you aren't using an ND and you're cranking shutter, like I just can't be friends with you. And then the whole idea is that it just cuts to me. It's like stopping, like I turn around, the focus is already on me. I'm basically not moving is basically what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So that the camera's already got focus on me and I'm just like, okay, stop. We got to shoot the whole thing again.
Right.
But now with like an ND filter on. But the way we made that work is that, the scene before that is just Say, and we run up to that spot where I
Right.
stopped. And since it cut so abruptly, you don't realize I'm not still. It feels like I did just stop.
Yeah. No, it was definitely seamless for sure. Yeah. No.
But
And then the pre-production in that, did you have a lot or was it kind of day of?
No,
You just
so like, Say obviously does a lot of prep for that.
I'm
'cause
sure,
he's-
with the visual effects and thinking through how exactly,
Yep.
because you definitely can't mess that up in the
No.
moment. You got to know, I guess, where you want it. So
Because obviously in that, deconstructing that in the production, from a production aspect, he just conducts the interview via Skype with James, and then he forms all the stuff he's going to say for the video around whatever to cue up what James's answers are.
right,
So he's got to do a lot of like writing in that sense of how his emotion's going to come off compared to like to make it, you're reverse engineering a conversation.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, luckily I didn't have to do too much. I mean, it's just like prepping with the right gimbal. So we shot it all on the Weeble S. Believe it or not, we shot it on the Weeble S. I actually always prefer the Crane 2S currently. But the Weeble S is what we shot it on to be more like small and inconspicuous because we weren't sure about how it was going to be to shoot on the campus. And then we show up there and we're like,
And no
oh
one
man, we
cares.
could have had everything
The
out
whole crew.
here. Yeah. Nobody would have cared. But anyway, yeah. So we shot it on that, which is actually kind of good. I did a lot of low shots. Not a lot, but I did enough that I think my back would have really been hurting at the end of the day if I was using the Crane 2S. So it's a tip for tat. That's right. That's how like every gimbal is, right? Any type of size, weight, or like anything, I feel like they all, in a perfect world, you kind of are always going to have like three. I feel like,
Right.
I mean, of course, yeah. And you just, if you're just going to save your body the whole time, for different types of shots. But of course, that's also not realistic either.
Yeah.
But I will say, yeah, that accidentally worked out that we had the Weeble S because, yeah, again, just like being able to get in that underslung mode, just, oh man, it saves the back.
Yeah, exactly. I bet. Yeah. And if you're shooting way longer than you thought, then that makes a difference as well.
Because the day after that, I shot another, like the 2 days after that shoot, I immediately went into 2 full days shoots for commercial production. And that I shot on the Crane 2S. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like the like midday on the first day of this commercial shoot. I was like, man, I'm like, I don't know. I was feeling it all of a sudden. And I felt myself like irritated, but it's because like, when it comes to like the ergonomics of the Crane 2S, it's just different.
Yeah.
And it was for the first time I was like, man, I was feeling that Weeble, obvious, like, but the actual, and the only reason for listeners like that I prefer the Crane 2S is it's just, I mean, it's the smoothest gimbal I've ever
You're mentioning,
used.
yeah, it just doesn't have as much of the quick whips and jerks if you move. And
It's-
obviously we can all get, it doesn't matter what gimbal you have. If you use it for like a year or 6 months, you're probably going to fine tune it to your specifications. But if you don't want to do that, then, the Crane 2S or any, the gimbals that are really like already fine tuned so that you're not having to worry like, oh, if I move a little too quick that it's not going to, obviously it's a gimbal, so it's going to have a certain type of motion, but those weird quick
That's the thing with
whips, then you're just gonna have to
Yep.
redo the shot because obviously you don't want to live with that.
And that, I mean, the Crane 2, the Crane 2S, not the Crane 2, the Crane 2S. Yeah, it just right out of the box works. But even when you fine tune it though, it gets even more like awesome.
It's just butter.
Whereas most other gimbals, you have to fine tune them for this just to be all right. Like,
it does
workable.
the shoot for you. You can sit in your
That's how it
car and it
feels.
just goes on its own and
Yeah.
just shoots it for
Whereas
you.
Weeble S is a different story. It's ergonomically like great, feels good, right? But if you don't dial that baby in, the footage, I don't know, it's just not there, man. It's just not there. I love that gimbal too, but it's got its own
Image stabilization
place, right?
won't help you out. It's like
Nah.
if it has any of that jerky motion.
The biggest thing with that one is, I think it has something to do with like the little motors or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter how well you balance it, how well you calibrate it, but the Weeble S, it, for some reason, does not always get the horizon right. Like it doesn't always come out balanced like the horizon. So like, I mean,
You either end up just correcting it in
sometimes,
post or
like,
sitting there
what's
getting
not-
all frustrated.
my thing is I always like balance it, turn it on, and then I have to sit there and like with the joystick, like kind of like figure it out. And I like turn on like the little,
But it doesn't go back to that spot once you kind of do
it,
an up
it
and
will,
down.
as long as I don't turn it off anymore.
Just don't turn it
Yeah.
off.
As long as I don't turn it off, it'll keep that, like it'll hold it. So yeah, it's not like a deal breaker, but if you didn't know that, you're just gonna have a whole bunch of lopsided footage forever,
Right.
and just think that there's something
new,
wrong.
The FX3, does it have just like I just remember A7S2, I would use that built-in level as well. Do you ever use
That's
that?
what I was about to say. I'll turn the built-in level
Yeah.
on it, and then I'll like level it on the gimbal, and then I'm good as long as I don't turn it off.
Because that's I think a lot of gimbals when you turn it off, because even when I was using the not the Ronin or whatever, which I got rid of, but before that, the Moza Air 2 or Air 1, whatever it was, same thing. I love that gimbal, but if you turned it off, I think it did the same thing. So I would turn it on, and then the little A7S2 level would just be like literally the tiniest bit off, and then I would turn everything off, and I would just do like the most tiny. I'm like, why am I keep adjusting? Like everything should be fine, but maybe because I used it for an hour or two, and it just slightly, and then.
But for the record, the Crane 2S never had a problem with it.
Never
It's flawless
had a problem
every time. But yeah, and I think that has a lot to do, from my understanding. Again, somebody that knows way more about gimbals is probably going to be like, this kid.
I don't need all that
This
science.
kid doesn't have it. But from what I understand is it has to do with there's some sort of frequencies or whatever that the gimbal is like playing off of. It's kind of like a GPS signal. That's what I mean. It's a GPS signal that's it's going off of. But I think what it is that the signal in that Crane 2, I'm sorry, and the signal in the Weeble S is not as strong.
It's weak.
Yep. Yeah.
We're not engineers, all right? We just.
I think it's just I think it's just not as strong, so that's why it's harder for it to get it like exactly right. Whereas like the Crane 2S, there's obviously more real estate inside of that thing for them to have a stronger antenna or whatever it is that reaches. Again, I don't know, but that's kind of my understanding. But that could also not be it. Like I have no clue why that gimbal does that, but. That's me making an excuse for it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No. It's like every gimbal has its own little quirks, but there's motors in it. Something's gonna go funky every once in a while. What are you gonna do? So I fell down the stairs.
Wait, so you just got back from Florida? Did you fall?
But I'm gonna do a reverse.
Okay.
It's funny. I should have started the podcast with saying I fell down the stairs, because then people would just. So we got back on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday evening. Tuesday, like 5 or 6 o'clock, whatever it was.
Okay.
And like 10 minutes after we're home, I'm upstairs, and in our place we just have it's like 13 steps, whatever it is, all wood. I mean, you know it.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed like this little cardboard box with a bunch of other little boxes in it to recycle, because my wife's birthday was like the few days before, and she just had these packages or whatever it was. And I notoriously wear socks in the house because I'm prone to frostbite in the winter. And I just do that all the time, and I never really think about it. But I was just in Florida for like 5 days. So having gone up and down the stairs, apparently I've forgot what stairs are.
Yeah.
So I hit the first step. Literally the first step. I slip and fell all the way down the stairs.
Oh my gosh.
Did not drop the box. Was holding, for some reason, thought maybe there was a baby in this box. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
that's your years of running with a camera. When you fall, you cradle that thing.
Exactly. And like, I don't try to catch myself because that's also like, I just try to go. And apparently, like, I always make these sounds that I'm not really in trouble. It's more like a joke. So years ago, my wife and I got in like this lady like T-boned us from behind as we were turning, and I had a Jeep at the time, and my Jeep almost flipped. It didn't flip, but it kind of like went sideways, like did this really weird thing, and we did not have our seatbelts on. We were being stupid. We were getting ready to park to go somewhere. And the place we had came from was like down the street. And for some reason, let's not put our seatbelts on. So I like bounced up, hit my head on the roof, and I was wearing glasses at the time. They flew off. And I made, like, Ariel will never forget the sound. I just went, like it wasn't like, are you really hurt? Or are you just doing that to get attention? So I did the same thing when I fell down the stairs. But Ariel was basically right there, and she saw me, and she said I fell so slowly, and I just went, down the whole stairs, and I crashed down at the bottom, and then I roll onto the floor, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, we've been home like 10 minutes. Why? Like, what? I survived Florida. Okay, yeah. What happened here? And luckily, nothing. Like, I was fine. I initially had like my back looked jacked up.
I bet.
But we immediately put like a bunch of ice. Yeah, a bunch of ice packs, wrapped it, and I kept that on for like 45 minutes, and that, I think it was just a really bad bruise. And then I have like little bruises all over the place, and I'm very sore.
I was about to say, so yeah,
it feels like I got in a car accident. So the first, yesterday was bad. Today it's like, depending on how long I'm sitting, so I have to like take breaks, like get up. If like yesterday I was sitting at the computer for like a 3-hour stretch, and when I got up, I felt like I was 90. I'm like, ugh.
Okay, so we may have to take a break.
No, we're good. Maybe. Yeah, I'll go through it. But so that was interesting, and now I can't. Now I'm forbidden to wear socks, or if I'm gonna wear socks, I have to have my slippers on so that I don't kill myself.
Yeah. So I was about to say, I know that life, right? So when we first moved into this house, and first bought this house, this is like the first time I've ever had wood steps in my house because I've rented apartments or whatnot. And I fell down the steps a couple times. These wood steps in the mornings.
But so you got those turns, so maybe you just had a few. What'd you?
No, only the steps are wooden that go from the studio to
right here
to like the living area, and then the rest of the house, all those stairs that turn and stuff like that. Those are all carpet.
So you're good.
Yeah.
There.
So I bought. Yeah, this is a cool plug. But the Mojave's slippers,
Mojave's.
They actually have like a little lip that hooks over your back foot, so you can kind of wear them like shoes throughout the day.
Okay.
So in my head, they're like slippers, but you feel like you're wearing shoes. It also helps for a freelancer because you feel like you actually put on shoes throughout the day. Like that's kind of like my idea. But yeah, so that's why I always wear my slippers from if I'm on this floor or the next floor. But then, from there on, I take them off because also it's like your feet got to breathe when you're in the house, man.
Right, yeah. So it was pretty brutal, but I'm all right. And I just heard this story, a buddy of mine who I worked with in the past, he literally just told me how he fell down the stairs not too long ago and dislocated his shoulder. So I fell down the stairs. I was, not to mention, I was also laughing immediately after, like, really? Like, this just happened? And I said, no, I'm built for it, tough, man. I'm good to go. I stood up. I was like, Ariel's like ready to call 911. And so.
Well, I know with the back, dude, you just bought the Easy Rig because they were having trouble with your back, right?
So maybe this is good. Maybe to knock it back into place. I have no idea. I'm just glad I hit my tailbone. Honestly, like, I'll take back, elbows, I'll hit. Because I got these little bruises everywhere from like hitting, but tailbone. I hate doing it. So the way I fell
Yeah.
was really strange. Like I slipped on the first step and then I fell at this like I guess 45-degree angle somehow and just like hit. But then at the bottom
You just
I like
planked
slammed.
it. You just like planked it, right?
Yeah,
Just-
I didn't stop. I don't know how I kept going. And then
That's
my
crazy.
guitar was at the bottom of the steps and I like kicked it and it was fun. Afterwards it was like really the whole night. I'm like, I called my dad, whoever. It's like, we just got home and I fell down the stairs.
I mean, you know that's a fall when you got to call people about it after.
Yeah, it's never happened. I was like, I survived it. Okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in Florida visiting family. Most importantly, our niece, my sister's, my wife's sister just had her first baby, Ella, who's little over 2 months now.
She's adorable, by the way. We saw some photos.
God. Yeah, she's ridiculous. So like we got to see her have her first beach day, my first beach day in like 6 years.
Heck yeah.
So got to come home with this redneck is actually from golfing, but not from the beach. But so yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to golf, which again, last time I golfed was when I was in Florida with my dad and my aunt and her wife. And
Were you sore after that?
no, so this
At
was
all?
actually funny because we golfed. Oh, it was just exhausting. Like we had a great time, but it's never really vacation because, we don't go home that often. So then when we do, we want to make the most of our time. So we really don't sleep and we schedule everything out to see mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, our parents, like we have 4 different families, stepmoms and stepbrother, all kinds of people. So we just try to like compact it as much as we can.
Totally,
But
I get that.
on the Sunday, I was golfing and which was a lot of fun. I birdied on like the second or third hole, and my aunt does this like fireball thing. So we take like these little fireball shots. It was like 7:45
nice,
in the morning, and we had fun. And then later that day, there was a barbecue at my father-in-law's house, and we had like a bunch of our friends over, and we were there all day. But we were playing cornhole, and me and Ozzy, who we went 7-0. We never lost. And the next day I thought I'm going to be sore because I played 18 holes of golf on a big course and then played a bunch of cornhole. But maybe like from doing this to the forward, it somehow corrected itself because I felt pretty good the next day. I was, surprised. But,
Nice. Okay.
But the beach I haven't been to the beach in forever. And I'm not, I grew up right by the beach. So, as you get older, you're like, you just don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
But because I hadn't been there in a while, it was nice. Like the water, apparently, I guess was a little cold, but not like it wouldn't be for you or I because of where we live now.
Correct,
so I
yeah.
went right in. It was shallow for like a football field. It was a sandbar. I just sat out there and just
chilling.
sat. There was seaweed and stuff, and like
You're cool with it.
Yeah,
at that
and
point, yeah.
my Ariel's sister's husband, Alec, he comes out and he's like, this is a little cold. And then of course he like the seaweed was gross. I'm like, I don't care, dude. Like the beach like this doesn't exist. Like even if you go to Virginia Beach or Duck or wherever, it's a different kind of beach. And like, yeah. So anyway, we had a good time and nothing crazy except the fact that you recognize that COVID maybe never existed in Florida. It's just, it is.
I feel like
for anybody who hasn't been to Florida,
they never acknowledged it in Florida
during the pandemic, and you live in an area that's still like relatively like being careful, like where we live. You go into wherever and you wear a mask, or a restaurant, you wear it until you sit down. No, in Florida, they don't care. Literally any place you go, no one cares. And we just assume that it's never happened. So that was also a weird adjustment. Now, granted, on the plane, you got to wear it the entire time. And they actually make it a point, like, has to go over your nose. None of this chin strap crap or anything. So
I learned a lot about that stuff. So for the viewers, I want to say like 3, maybe 4 months ago, I worked on a docuseries called The Geospatial Revolution that would be airing on like PBS and stuff. But it basically was all about how the geospatial like tracking that from the Johns Hopkins student that I'm like butchering this, but the student that like made the app that like, you can like track stuff from, or, you do contact tracing, from like countries where they are not reporting it. Like the governments are like,
suppressing it, you know, not letting people report stuff. So, they're just not letting their actual numbers out. But anyway, basically through all the geospatial tracking and stuff like that, they were able to really pin down, like, it was spring breakers that brought it to America, and kind of like in Florida, though. That's where the mass spread starts. It's all really actually starts from Florida.
Shocker.
It's super crazy. But I don't know when that episode will come out. But it's going to be a pretty crazy thing to watch. 'Cause just the trailer, when I watched it, I mean, I watched the trailer and I was like, when they asked me to be on the project, I wasn't quite sure, but I watched because I knew nothing. I don't know anything about geospatial, right? Like tracking. So, but I watched the trailer and I was like, oh yeah, like let's do this. This is cool right here, you know? Because at that time too, like COVID, like 4 or 5 months ago, we still didn't even really know what was going on with vaccines, really. Like, no. So, and I mean, I don't know. I was really passionate too. I think at that time too, like I think that week I probably had like 2 times where I like broke down and was like crying to my wife. I had no freaking clue, but it's just like, it was because I was just like so overwhelmed and sad that like people are making that decision to sort of not care about other humans. It's like, like they want to be like, wow, there's that idea of like, well, I'm going to live my life. Right. It's like, it's not about you living your life. It's about what you can potentially do to everyone around you, or people that you don't know.
Right. It really separates the fun. Oh my God. So we, like on Saturday night, we were downtown St. Pete, and we had like I think it was like 8 of us that we had dinner reservations at this place called Bella Brava. It's right on Beach Drive, downtown St. Pete. And it's just like, there's 2 different there's more than 2, but in downtown there's like Beach Drive is like the nice restaurants, the nice bars. And then Central Avenue is where it's more casual. There's a place called $5 Brewery. There's more like not really sports bars, but that's kind of what they are. I get you. So there's these 2 different kind of crowds. Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter because I was like, what's
there's
it
like date night and then there's drink night.
But it all molds together because it's Florida, right? So like the fashion, everything. It's like there's a few people mixed in. You're like, I don't think they're from here probably because the way they're dressed. Because Florida has such a distinct look, especially that area. But it was absolutely packed out of control. Like the restaurant we were in was we had reservations, we were fine, but it was completely packed. The streets completely packed, the sidewalks, the bars. It was out of control. Then we leave this restaurant, everybody wants to go somewhere else and get a drink. And so we're gonna go to, I forgot the name of the place, but it was just so loud. We're like, no, like the like we can't even have a conversation. And then we forget that Florida, I don't think, has places like that. Everywhere you go is just the music is as loud as can be, and let's just dance and get hammered or whatever. Whereas I feel like DC, there's places that you can actually like have a conversation.
Honestly,
and also like you can go to District Winery, name places you can go and sit down.
Honestly, I have an issue that the music's never loud enough in DC. I feel like I can never effing hear anything.
But if you're trying to have a conversation,
but I was like, say usually the noise is the loud mouths of DC is trying to talk over each other.
Right. So we go to
that's how I'm like, can you just get this idiot to shut up over here so I can listen to my conversation? Because he is so proud about himself right now that like he doesn't even realize that everyone can hear it. The whole room knows what he's saying.
Right. You work on
there's
the hill.
So
that's
much
great.
of that. Yeah.
So we go to this nicer place that's up on a rooftop. And I think a bunch of them had been there. I hadn't been up there before. Okay. But we get up. It's a little more of an eclectic crowd. There's some older people. It's not just young people. It's more actually probably our age and up.
Okay.
But again, they had DJ Khalid or whoever's there. You know, it's not DJ. But the music is so loud. And, you know, I think while we were there, 3 different people that we saw like dropped a glass or a bottle. People are hammered, there's security, whatever. But the funniest part I was getting at, this long story short, is that there was 2 or 3 people in this completely packed rooftop that had a mask on. And I just can't, I mean, it was just the funniest thing I've ever seen. what are you doing? Who are you protecting? What is I don't even understand. I can't think of the algorithm that makes sense for that person, why they're here. They had to get on an elevator to come up there.
Yeah, it's strange because it's like you like where your head is, but is it there?
Is so
you know
weird.
What I mean? Like it's
couldn't
like
come up with a logical. I couldn't think of one logical explanation. But anyway, so that was funny.
It's just it's almost like just like reputation control, right? Like they're just like, yeah, I was out, but I wear a mask.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Yeah,
but if you really were, you just wouldn't be out. Right?
Yeah, just stay home. What are you doing? But yeah, so overall, let's see. What are the things we learned from Florida? It's still hot as hell, so don't move to Florida if you don't like hot and humidity because it was absolutely ridiculous.
All right, so.
Unbearable. Literally, I can't. I live there. I can't believe I lived there. The biggest chunk of my life until almost 8 years ago. But way too hot. And I got to spend time with our first day there. My grandpa came over to my mom's and we had dinner, and he stayed till 10 o'clock at night, which is crazy.
Did you have a little bit of that conversation that we talked about in the last podcast?
No, but it happened organically, kind of. I still would like to do those things that we talked about before.
Yeah.
But
this is beautiful. The artist.
Yeah, I feel like enough people don't.
This is awesome.
Yeah, well, Ariel,
it's about the right. If it's okay if you documenting it, making something from it is awesome. But hearing it's also just as valuable just to be there. I mean, that's what I was saying too. The whole idea is that if you just get him to open up to you like that as a friend.
Exactly. I don't think enough people
ask
people those questions. Not even older people who have been around longer than you and I combined. I think it's with anybody, just having not a surface level conversation. So my grandpa randomly, I'm sure Ariel was the one who somehow asked some question because she's great at just asking questions that no one else would. But yeah, he went on I felt 2 hours straight. He started from joining the Navy to retiring at Honeywell, and which we've heard bits and pieces before, but it was cool to hear that how he just moved through the ranks at Honeywell, and that his least favorite thing he ever did was work on the lunar modules with NASA. He couldn't stand it because of supervisors and things like that.
Okay.
And then the other highlight was that he ended up before maybe 5 to 7 years before he retired, he achieved kind of like military and different places have the levels of how you get paid, E1 or E whatever it's called. Yeah. He was in Honeywell terms, he got up to 8, which is no one ever literally there's 9 and 10, but no, it's unachievable. Well, he got 10. He got grade 10 because he had checked off all these boxes of okay, well, why shouldn't I get it? So then he did. So it was just cool to hear
crushing it.
Just crazy stuff. Yeah. Or the fact that he never went to school. He was not an engineer, but he was offered I forgot how many years in, but it was okay, you could just be an engineer. And he said, no, I don't want to be an engineer because he didn't want to because the fact that it would affect. Yeah, he didn't want. It wasn't about the responsibility. It was something he was doing his thing here. He didn't want to be pushed into something else. He's no, I But anyway, it was fascinating. And then we came back and we're back in Northern Virginia. Now it's just pouring down rain. So apparently we brought the rain from Florida. So and then
That's
I'm
awesome.
just finishing up on a couple of editing things and been super slacking on YouTube, but whatever, that's all right. We've got other things going on. So
YouTube will be here tomorrow.
It'll be here. That's fine.
Next week,
And now I had mentioned about I signed a big contract with NHMA, which is my wife's, where she works, National Hispanic Medical Association.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're planning out trip to, it's Irvine, California, but it's Los Angeles. Going to be making it'll be the first of a couple of really high caliber PSAs, and this is with some big doctor or something.
Nice,
but it's
nice.
Vaccinate for All, so it's all about and very geared towards the Hispanic community or minority communities and things like that. So super excited about that because it's again ground floor work that hasn't been done
Such
with
an awesome
them.
cause. Yeah.
And then also the people at NHMA that I'll be working with are all awesome, and they're like super excited. So that'll be over the next, from literally now to the end of the year, is a lot of stuff like that, which is great because it'll open me up to do some other things that I've been wanting to do aside from that, as I'm finishing up these other random projects that are whatever, so
cool.
I know you had mentioned you saw North Hollywood. I still haven't watched it, but I'm going to, what's today, Friday? So actually I could potentially watch it tonight maybe. But we did go see A Quiet Place. Oh, the second one.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, you've seen the first one?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw it today. Yeah, we saw it yesterday. We went and saw it yesterday. It's excellent.
It's good? Okay.
Yeah, if I said the first one, I felt like the first one was almost like a perfect move, like perfect story. Like they didn't even need to do the second. Like they could have just left it. This did at least justice. It wasn't, and I have been following John Krasinski and the fact that he didn't even really want to do the sequel, but I'm glad they did. I think it did it justice. It was solid. So, and then there was a trailer before the movie. There was a bunch of really bad trailers. I mean, there's just some really bad movies, like the Hitman's Bodyguard's wife.
They're like COVID productions.
Oh my gosh!
People were like, it doesn't matter. We're going to still do this and try to make money.
And people are going to go. They're going to go. Yeah. But there is one called, I think it's In the Heights. It's the new Lin-Manuel.
Okay.
I don't know if you've even seen the trailer for this.
We are watching it tonight, actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't know it was on HBO, so I watched this trailer. I'm like,
it's
all right, hell yeah. And then
Washington Heights.
Get home. Get home. And I hadn't looked on HBO in a while, like to see like what new movies, every day something's on there.
Yeah.
And it's like In the Heights or whatever. It's like, wait a second, they didn't say that on the trailer that it would be on HBO. So I'm excited to watch that because obviously, I mean, Lin-Manuel's awesome. And it's got the one dude from Hamilton that's basically kind of the lead in this.
I don't know his name, but and he was like in the Hennessy commercials.
Oh, you know what he's
done
really
a bunch
good
of
in?
cool stuff.
He's in Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. What's the movie? A couple years ago, he's in that. He was really solid. He was like her best.
Star
friend.
Is Born.
Star Is Born. Yeah, and he's good in that. But anyway, I'm excited to watch that because it looks solid. I initially thought it was another West Side Story trailer, which I'm also pumped about, but it's like, no, this is something different. And then Lin-Manuel's in the trailer. I was like, oh, okay.
I think what's cool is like, I can just tell, I think from the trailer, it's clearly going to be one of those movies that a lot of people jump on because of Hamilton.
Definitely.
But again, I don't know. This is just my prediction.
Right.
A lot of people will probably be like older people or like, I don't know, certain age group that would have been into Hamilton, and they're like get brought into like hip hop and like all that kind of stuff that they would normally not be into maybe.
But they'll watch this.
I bet you that they'll watch this and it will be the opposite. They'll be like, I didn't like this as much. I just feel like that because this is like a modern story. More modern stories isn't like it doesn't have as much of a gimmick, it seems. Like the gimmick is that it's Lin-Manuel, which is not really gimmicky, but that's kind of the gimmick now.
Right. But if you look at his...
Again, that's just like my prediction. I have no freaking clue. I'm so open to being wrong on that.
Yeah, but the road to like everything that he does has been amazing. Even if like me, I definitely like the Hamilton music. The play itself, I'm like, okay, it's fine. The music though is amazing.
It is.
Moana, even if you don't like animated movies, the music is amazing. Like the guy has not messed up yet. So I mean, I don't see why this isn't going to be good.
But see, it's good for somebody who respects the art.
Right.
A lot of the Hamilton crowd caught on because they were told to, basically. Or, it's like moms and pops that are older, and they're just like, it's history. This is cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you have HBO, you can watch In the Heights. Am I saying? I think it's called.
I don't.
It's In the Heights. Something. It's on HBO till like July 3rd.
My quote is like me and my wife, because he's like, when he's telling the story, he's like, there was a town or a place. It was called Washington Heights.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
But. Dude. I guess, before we end on, I did want to talk about the S Mic 2S, just because this is not the deity S Mic 2S. not because I'm like
Your wife came through
to brag
Let's give her
about.
some-
I just really want to do this because this is just a little little tip for filmmakers out there. I'm excited about it because basically, I couldn't find this mic, and I was like harping to my wife about I just need to get that, and then I would be good. I could think about like other stuff, or like I don't know. It was just killing me that I just didn't have the shotgun mic that I wanted on my camera for potential jobs and things like that are coming up. And I had already put my pre-order in, but she was just like, "Let me see." Like I'm like driving somewhere, and she's like, "Let me just look at Facebook Marketplace." And I was like,
Like,
'cause
you'll
she
find
does that.
something,
She
but
does
who
that for
knows?
everything.
Right.
But I'm like, okay. I was like, really? I just need a smaller shotgun mic that's decent. So I was like, just type in. She was like, what would I type in? I was like, just type in, shotgun mic. And because I know that she's not in her head like, I'm going to look for the DDS mic too.
Right.
So, and we're driving.
Because you're like, it's not going to come up. Anyway,
I'm like, dude, she puts it in and she goes, I hear her go, what about the DDS mic 2S? And I'm like, at first, because I'm
messing
driving,
with you.
I'm driving too. And I'm like, I think she's messing with me. And then as she's like explaining it all, and then I'm like, this is one of those targeted ad things or something where they like, no, I looked it up and now it's like, this is not going to be real, or this is going to be across the country or something. It's not in the area. No, sure enough, the guy basically selling it for $100 cheaper
something's
than
off
it's
there.
listed. I know. I'm sitting here like, okay, is this stolen? Like, anyway, excuse me, sorry, cough. But I get on the phone with the guy, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I've had it for 2 months now. Because he had obviously pre-ordered it. He was one of the first to get it. And he was just like, I kind of given up on my like dreams of becoming a filmmaker. Like I have a family and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm just trying to, I've done this for a while now and it just hasn't done anything. And I know that right now I just want to put that money towards, creating another company or something is what he was saying.
Entrepreneur over here.
Yeah, that's literally, that's what it is. He was one of those guys who like, he came in it obviously to, have that little business, little production business, but, but he was okay. It's not like, and that's cool, right? Like it's not, you can be called and understand that that's not your calling.
Right.
Or let it find that out. Some people get too arrogant to think like, oh, I was called once, so I have to stick with this forever, right?
Exactly.
So it was like super cool to it was just cool to hear that story, right? Like, and he ends up coming out. I go talk to him. He like sits there, lets me play around with the mic and everything. Then brings me a mic stand, some XLR cables and stuff. He's just giving me stuff. And he's like, yep. He had just bought the Blackmagic. He had the Blackmagic 6K, the Pocket 6K. And he also had the light that you had too, but they were all for sale as well. And I was like, I could just tell. And I was like, yeah, you were doing it. Like you were, I know where he was, like he was working that budget production life, but he was doing it right. Like he knew all the gear that he had was good. It was like the right stuff for the right price and everything. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because that's just like a little cool, like tip, right? For filmmakers, like I'm not too proud to buy used, right? Like pretty much that wasn't even used, but the fact that I even just was open to the idea of looking online, it worked out, right? Like
because in general, I trust. I've bought a lot of secondhand gear.
I sell a lot, but I don't buy a lot. See, that's my thing. I sell almost everything again, like because being like an essentialist, like I could care less that I had it.
Right.
If I am not using it, I don't, need it. Out of sight, out of mind, blah, blah. And then also like, that's what keeps like buying the new stuff. That's what makes it okay. Cause it keeps its value, right? When you're selling it, you don't lose as much.
And in general, I trust most of the people I've bought stuff from because I just assume, I have to kind of assume that, if they're filmmakers or photographers or whatever they are, that they are taking care of that stuff. And I've never had that problem either. Anything I've bought, either eBay or in person from somebody, like the gear has been taken care of, which is huge.
Yep.
I think that is knowing. Whereas somebody posts like a TV on Craigslist or something,
Yeah.
you know, you don't know. It might be fine. It might, who knows? Like that person is just trying to sell their TV. They're not, you know, I
Yeah.
feel like lenses and camera bodies and gimbals, things like that. You know, people want to test it and whatnot, but I
Yeah.
think they typically trust that, you know, and also I
Well,
think I
that's
mentioned
just-
before, we're not hiding from it. Like if I sell something, like you can find me, you can email me, call me, like, you know, and I always kind of put that out there. Like, hey, if you have any questions, let me know, man. Like, I'm here. So
Yeah, it's mostly because I want to get rid of it, not because I want to make money off of it.
That's the key.
The making money part is like the bonus, but that's not the goal, right?
Right. If I'm selling myself to make money,
'Cause I
then
lose-
something's wrong.
Yeah,
right.
I always way undersell my stuff, but it's more because I'm more interested in just getting rid of it, right?
right. Exactly.
But
So you got the new mic.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was the thing too. You just started talking about like them caring for it. Still, I'm like, I don't know. So it was cool. He just came outside and just like talked with me. I mean, he like lit up a cigarette and just like, yeah, man. And just started talking to me about life and filmmaking. He wanted to listen to podcasts, so he may be listening now. I was like, yeah, I'll probably bring this up. But he's like, yeah, he's like, I used it as a boom mic like 3 times. And I'm like,
Done.
so dude, this hasn't even ever been on a camera. So like the possibilities of it having something, because like on the front of your camera, you're running it as a shotgun. There's a lot of more opportunities for you to like hit it,
Right.
you know, have something hit it, or you know, set it down and it fall or something like that weird and blah blah blah. So like that's why really testing it out makes sense. But if it's on like, he literally had it on a mic stand a couple of times, like.
You know, it's brand new.
It's just literally, yeah, like brand stinking new. I mean, that's how they like. That's basically the same as like the factory test that they do before they pack it up and send it out, right?
Right.
Like no mic goes untested.
Exactly.
And they send it out. So like everybody thinks that they get stuff.
And microphones,
Never used.
like
It's
microphones
been-
last forever.
Yeah.
Like these I got on eBay. One of these I had before I got 2 other ones, but one of them, the serial number is from like the first 12,000 of them, which was in the year like 2000. So it's literally like 20 years old. I feel like microphones are probably the best piece of gear that's going to last you the longest if you take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing, right? Yeah. If you're, and again too, yeah, these are not running on the front of your camera, right? That's the thing.
Right,
like right
yeah.
now, that S-Mic 2S is, yeah, the most vulnerable because I'm running it actually shotgun on top of the camera. That's the
Right.
most vulnerable you can ever make a microphone.
Yeah, these are
But
always
for, like,
indoor or
these, yeah.
YouTube video stuff. Yeah, no, they're
I
never on.
don't know if these can die.
Yeah, no,
if you're
they're
using
made
them
like
like this,
tanks.
right?
Yeah, I don't think they will. Yeah.
So,
No, that's cool.
but yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. I know this is a longer episode now, so probably,
I don't care.
I don't know if anybody's going to make
If
it
you're
that
still
far.
listening, let us know.
Yeah, but I wanted to do like, yeah, I was like, I may even do like a whole YouTube video on that because
I'm
like,
waiting for it. Let's see.
this is the first time where it's paid off for me like that harsh, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is, if you look right now, that microphone is still on back order.
Really
Yes, from B&H. Like, and that's why I'm just still like, dude, this is
got it.
freaking crazy.
Another thing is you know what is it like in a newspaper? They do the corrections like the next day. What do they call that section? Neither of us can.
Oh
remember.
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, remember a couple episodes ago I was talking about the mic stuff, and I was talking about I called it the Movi.
Yes, that's why I was asking because I wasn't
so I
sure.
am an idiot, and I could tell like you were giving me like a little twinkle, like I don't think you're right, but of course.
But I wasn't
whatever.
gonna because
We
I
just
didn't
went.
know.
So it's Movo,
Movo, okay.
Movo, and it's still that is the same thing as that cover I told you about.
Okay.
Like the rain, because they just sent me an email, which is so random because I bought that cheap lav. No one told me to buy it. I just bought it, and then I made that video about different mics, and then they just sent me an email, and they're sending me, and I could talk about this because the product's already out.
Sweet,
It's been out,
yeah.
but they're sending me out this kit. And again, normally this happened like a year and a half ago, where this other company sent me this like clip-on filter things for a phone, and they sent it out, and I was like,
Yeah, you weren't
this
quite
is not,
about it,
this
right?
ain't me, and
I get
it
it.
also just wasn't great. So they have this whole kit. It's like $200. It's got a little tripod, a mount. It's got a light. It comes with the mic, like the lav mic. It comes with everything you need to just like do a mobile setup type thing. And it's so weird because right now with this other project that is coming up is thinking through how to, it's not necessarily for me, but for other people who don't do anything to do with video, how they can like record something, especially like PSA type stuff. And so anyway, I emailed back and said, this is the weirdest timing. Yeah, I'd be totally down to do something with this because I can do it at a different angle. It won't be like the filmmaker angle. It'll just be, hey, if you need to shoot something, and compact it all in one tiny little thing and keep it on your phone.
I had a project that I was being hired as a consultant to do stuff like that. And, for a company to do basically their own kind of PSAs like that. And, because I was not that interested in doing all the shopping for it, like I priced it out like, pretty right, if that makes sense. And they just kind of got overwhelmed and was not about it. But I think that was the one thing where I was like, if there just was a kit, I'd be on.
Yeah, like, I think it comes so literally
so that's sick.
Like your deity came in like a nice case. Yeah. It's kind of a medium, small size box. I think it's coming next week or whatnot. But so we'll see.
That's how the thing should be. They should feel like it's like a. I mean, that's how mobile production should always be. Like anytime that's how like the real business works. Anytime I've ever had a client where, I know back in the day when I didn't have my own audio equipment and I would be DPing something and it's like doc style and they want audio for something. Every time a production company would send me out a kit, and it's always a Pelican case, and they've got it, they've like figured it all out, and it's just like that. And they would even maybe have like a printout with like a picture of like how they want me to set it all up, and then I would learn that gear right there and I could do it.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah.
And I'm just saying that because even then, even though I was in video, like I knew nothing about audio at that time,
right?
And was super intimidated by audio. That's why I hadn't put money into it, right?
Right.
And being able to do it like that, dude, it was always so awesome and just so.
And that's definitely what this is geared to, because it's definitely set up for just anybody to, set up and go and not have to,
It's cool. We're in a cool ass time, man, because I do not like all these mobile productions, but
yeah, me either. But it's also
do. But listen, cool. It is going to help, because what's going to happen is we're letting the people that normally wouldn't be educated in that stuff, that are in front of the camera, maybe, so that. Everybody that you work with, you'll probably work with on a couple different things, maybe later on with the same company,
Right.
They're going to have a better sense of what you're doing because they had to do it themselves in like an easy way, but they just have a little bit more understanding. I mean, that's like, I for the longest time, I used to say that I wish that it was like mandatory in school for you to graduate, even like high school now, that people have a basic media class. Like they need to learn how to make a video on iMovie or Movie Maker. That's all they need to learn how to do.
Like that should people use PowerPoint.
But that's what I was about to say. It should be a requirement, just like Excel or like PowerPoint. They don't just to learn the program, right? Because there's so many people that come to me and basically, or they don't. It's not anymore because obviously I'm marketed right now.
Right.
They know they're coming to me, but I just remember, probably 3 years ago, like I would still getting calls to where it's like, a grandma who wants to make her granddaughter's, I don't know, like birthday party.
Right.
She wants to, wants to add some music to a video, but she doesn't even want it cut. She's like, it just wants this one clip with some music on it. And it's like,
to us, we're like,
there's Instagram for that. But then there's also like, if you had to use this, it wasn't shot on your phone. Like, I get it. She's like, maybe I have a flip phone, so I can't do. But if she just, if there was like iMovie, or that granddaughter's mother, would have known iMovie. Like, I get like that's the generation that sub didn't exist if it's a grandmother now. But like there should be enough people around that like grandma can ask a relative.
Right, yeah. And we've all done, like I just did that not too long ago for some really good friends of ours they got married like in the 90s, whatever it was. Yeah. It's old footage. And basically it was just take it, compact it, just make it just something real simple with some music or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think because he just genuinely probably just didn't really want to do it. But if he wanted to, I think actually he probably could have done it on his own. But
and I randomly will get a random email sometimes nowadays that will be like that. And it just, the only reason I'm like harping on it is it just sucks to be like, I mean, here's my day rate. And they're like,
right. Never mind.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Right.
They're so scared. It's like, cause then they, for them, because this is just grandma, they feel like you're judging them when you say like, what? You didn't think this was, you thought this was going to be like $100. Like,
Right.
what,
Like, look at the companies that are
but it's hard.
taking your old tapes and making it digital. Like, they're making hand over fist, dude. Like, they are making some good money for sure.
Yeah. The only reason I bring it up though is because it sucks to tell them in that situation. No.
Like, you have a grandchild somewhere nearby who can
Yeah.
I guarantee you they can do it. I guarantee you they'll put something together. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get out of here.
Yeah. This was a longer one, but hey.
Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment on iTunes, wherever you're listening. Spotify, again, I don't think gives you the option. But we got a bunch of stuff coming up in the next few days and weeks.
Works.
So, each week we'll just be talking about God knows what. So, enjoy your week. And
hey, also, we haven't actually talked about this.
What do we do?
But I just want to just straight say this. If any of you viewers have somebody, a creator or somebody like maybe in the DC area, they don't necessarily have to be in the DC area, but it would be preferable, that you think would be a good guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
Let us know, because we don't always want to just be pulling from our
right. Yeah.
pool
We
of
definitely talked about it.
the
Same with
network
the
and
questions. I know, again, it's a slow roll.
There's no bad submission, no
Right.
bad question, and no bad comments are welcomed as well. I mean, right? Like this is an open environment.
Exactly.
This is for all of us, right?
Exactly.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you later then.
all right, later guys.
Bye.
Peace.